We are going to get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another Straight Talk about coronavirus community conversation. We welcome everyone here tonight. Straight Talk is we will be having a conversation about the Asian American experience with coronavirus. We will be talking about all kinds of things. We have already two very esteemed sisters who have joined us for this conversation, and we are looking forward to hearing from both of them. My name is Pam Duncan. I am the president and CEO of Metropolitan Development Council, and I'm joined today by my good friend and colleague, Twina Nobles, president and CEO of Tacoma Urban League. And we are partnering together for the series of conversations. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Twina.
Thank you, Pam. Tonight's conversation is the 9th in a series of discussions where we are diving into different ways that this virus, the coronavirus, is impacting Tacoma and Pierce County. Tonight on our panel, we'll dig into how COVID-19 is impacting the Asian American community, including some follow-up on last week's discussion about systematic racism during this pandemic and the impacts on our collective mental health. For everyone listening, we'll be here for the community throughout the COVID-19 crisis with new conversations every Monday at 5 p.m.
The most important message that we feel we can convey throughout the series of conversations is that there is hope in our community. Our focus is to create space in each meeting to talk about resources and things that we all can be doing to help get us through this pandemic. Throughout today's conversation, just as a reminder, you can submit your questions to be addressed by our speakers using the questions and answer function in Zoom. We do our absolute best to get to every single question or to elevate the concerns that are being raised. Just want you to know that we're not always able to, but we give it our best shot. And then as a housekeeping matter, and for the security of everyone on the call, with the exception of our panelists, your mics have been muted and we are not allowing everyone to show their faces on video. We've also disabled the chat function. So again, remember, submit your questions to our moderator through the Q&A function. Our panel for tonight's conversation includes our very own Lua Pritchard, Executive Director of the Asia Pacific Cultural Center. Hi, Lua. You're on mute.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, so good to see you.
It's good to see you.
And we have Vanna Sing, who is founder of Tacoma Healing Awareness Community, as well as an MDC board member. Hi, Vanna, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
We will hopefully be joined by Sinoun Hem.
Sinoun Hem.
Sinoun Hem, Youth Program Manager at Asia Pacific Cultural Center. We are acknowledging there are a lot of folks who are having difficulties with their phones. Which phone?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile, we're acknowledging folks are having trouble and may not be able to get on. So we are just gonna acknowledge that. So I'm gonna turn it back over to Twina to get us started with our conversation.
Thank you, Pam. I would like to start with a quick temperature check just to see how everyone on the call is doing. I feel we continue to have, it seems like just the most difficult news that's released in community or in across the country. And I've gotten to the point personally, especially as it comes to watching videos that are released and that show interactions with law enforcement, I have stopped watching the videos and have really tried to just step back off social media for my own self-care. And so I wonder how other folks are feeling. I'm hanging in there. I, have a busy week at work ahead of me, but I'm hanging in there. I'm available for community, continuing to help folks to figure out how they can be involved in the movement, helping folks to understand this conversation around race and reconciliation and policing. So I have quite a bit on my plate, but I am here and accounted for. How is everyone else?
I'll jump in. COVID-19 has been very changing for our community, the Asia Pacific people. It's been really a changing mode for all of our lives, and I'm sure for all the rest of you as well. It's been really complicated in many ways, a sense of change in many ways. So for COVID-19, we've been able to, as an organization, we've been able to assist a lot of people through the assistance of some of the resources available in Pierce County to help us help the Pierce County Asian Pacific people, while we also partner with all the rest of the statewide efforts in terms of our Asian Pacific community in addressing COVID and how to help our community people. So, for example, here in Pierce County, Tacoma Urban League, Graduate Tacoma, City of Tacoma, and then as well as the Tacoma School District have been able to provide resources for us to send out to our people in great needs for like food boxes from the farmers market, for example, as well. The gift cards for families to buy their foods, and then school supplies for the kids who are coming up, and they've been in, like today is our day, Monday today, APCC's day to give out school supplies. And the boxes have been really, the food boxes have been really fantastic. They're 25 pounds for each, and they come veggies, dairy products, and meat products. So really, really great. Some we pick up from the farmers market here, people we connect with, and also from Federal Way and City of Seattle. So it's been that way. And also we've been doing a lot of translation and interpretation for a lot of the clients with the hospitals and also DSHS and who are trying to get assistance and emergency needs for foster homes and so forth. So those are the kinds of ways that we've been busy as an organization and as a community. And so, but for what's been going on in terms of what the world is into in protesting and so forth, about Black Lives Matter and the inequity that's been going on, and social justice and the need for that, and then systemic racism and so forth. So we've been involved in different protests and from behind scenes, but this Saturday we're doing faith-based Pacific Islander, especially the Samoan pastors, are going to get together, and I'll be I am organizing with them for this Saturday to be on Broadway downtown Tacoma. So we're doing that, but we already did our opening statement verbal. I think Twana heard me on Facebook. We went out public saying that we stand behind Victoria Woodards and how she's moving things along with those kinds of matters that our whole world is into right now. And then we're also, encouraging our people from here and there. We've got a lot of King County peace marches for our people up there as well, and as well on a national level. We're doing letters and we're doing newspaper articles and all that kind of stuff. So, and yes, we do believe and go and are behind Black Lives Matter movement. So.
Thank you, Auntie Lua. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. It's Vanna. So from the grassroots level, we're focusing on a lot of grounding and healing with the people who has been impacted by the social injustice. Tacoma Healing Awareness Community does not have the capacity or the energy to do a lot of other things because we don't have the staff. We just have volunteers who can do some things, but not at that capacity. And so we are in the struggle. And so again, we're just focusing on healing and grounding and making sure people, especially women, don't check out during these situations, and they just need to speak up. I'm encouraging women to speak up and ask for help. Yeah, that's about it for me.
So Twana, if I could just jump in, this was the responses that I heard are so indicative of women, how we just show up and we just bam, 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 we just do the work, right? And ourselves, we come last. We tend to put ourselves last. So I'd like to ask the question again as a check-in. How are you doing, Sister Lua, and how are you doing, Sister Vanna?
So I'm angry. In many ways, I'm angry with what's been going on and what's going on in the world. And every day we turn on the TV in the morning and kind of check in every single day. But a lot of times, I don't know about you all, but when I'm angry, sometimes I cry because you're trying to maintain yourself. And not, blast out. I'm angry because the police is supposed to, our cultures, police is like teachers, the status of like teachers and administrators and, leaders of, the legislative. We look at police that way because we look at them, they're like power. And they're like authority. And so they're like our protector, So that's why I'm really upset that this is happening to the police. And I know it's been happening for a long time, but I was in a dream world thinking that things were getting better, but I guess not. But we really need to have a reform in terms of law enforcement, because this cannot be going on. And it's not, I know the blacks have been receiving this kind of treatment for so long, but it's people of color in general, really, because we've been angry about a lot of stuff about our people too. And, Samoans and Tongans have been known to be just treated just like that. And thank goodness the blacks speak out more than our people do. And then it's just, and we stand on the grounds of the pathway that the blacks and the Native Americans have been going through for so long in America. And so that's why we have to do something about it. It has to stop. So, but I as a woman, with a caring heart, as a mother, as an auntie, as a sister, and all that, It just cannot continue to happen. We have to. This is I think this is it. We just gotta do something about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Lua. So how Vanna Sing is doing is Vanna Sing is well. Again, I've been on a healing journey and I've been prepared for this moment. How do we deal with situations like this? And honestly, I have been seeing a mental health therapist who keeps me sane, who understands this struggle, and this pandemic just revealed and exposed a lot of the institutional racism and all the social injustice that's been happening. And Lua, yeah, you're right. Black folks have always led the way, and they speak up more than we do. So now we need to focus on healing our people so we can speak up too. But Vanna Sing is doing great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And as we are still giving time for our final panelists to join us, since we've started to dive in a little bit, and Pam, you can let me know how you're feeling, I think we can jump into a little bit more. I know that the Asian and Pacific Islander community is very diverse, that none of the voices here, similar to when we speak of the Black community, there is not a sole Black experience, but there are many commonalities. And so I wonder if what we can do is talk a little bit more about how COVID-19 has impacted the Asian American, and Pacific Islander communities. And there are a couple of things that I would like to hear. I think one, if we can talk or learn a little bit about whether there has been increased racism or discrimination, and also just speak to a little bit, I know we talked about some of the data and why the Black community is disproportionately represented in high numbers of COVID-19 positive testing, and just wanted to know if we could talk a little bit about the impacts in the Asian American and Asian Pacific Islander community, because I don't want to make it one group. So I know that the two of you can only speak for your communities and your experience.
So COVID-19 in Pierce County alone, there's a Pacific Islander has more cases. And so that's why the Tacoma Pierce County Health Department has been meeting with us, our leadership for Pacific Islanders, because amongst the Asian Pacific, the Pacific Islanders have been hit really hard as per capita. And so that's very alarming, and that's what we're working on. So what we're doing with the health department is informing our leaders so they can inform their different, like, church leaders and community leaders, so they can inform their people. And also we are meeting with the health department to try and see how we can help our people more and make sure to get the information out there. Because, you know, with COVID-19 limiting us from seeing each other person to person, that's really against our culture. Our cultures for Asia Pacific is all about person to person. We're families. We're big families. And we've been dealing with COVID-19 right from the start because, you know, people like Trump called the virus a Chinese virus. So therefore, when we go out to the markets and we'll go out to the public, they look at us, and not just Chinese people, all Asia Pacific people, because they don't know the difference between us. A lot of them, they don't. So they just look at us and we look Asia Pacific, so they tell us to go back to where we come from. So, and a lot of times you just want to cause a fight in the grocery store, or you just don't have enough patience, or depending on the mood you went in with anyway. So it's a lot of, we've been having to really, really hold on to ourselves in terms of what the public is being racist about out there in terms of COVID-19. It's according to a lot of them. It's our virus. It's Asia Pacific virus, especially the Chinese people. So yeah, we get those comments and they blame us, and so a lot of times they look at us and they run away. They move themselves away from us. So a lot of that we've been working on local and national level in terms of trying to make sure that we get the right information to the right leaders so that they can help us talk about these things and help us make sure that the public understand that it's not what they think it is. Yeah, we've been dealing with that. Social distancing is not our thing. It's really against us. Our funerals have been really bad. The funerals, because the COVID-19, people who died from COVID-19 and people who died without the COVID-19, we've had to do funerals for them. And it's a very, very uncultural way. And so it's been really, it's anger, and also dealing with the funeral homes and so forth. It's not their fault anyway, but still, a lot of mixed emotions come about. The participants of the families, they come over, they have to sit in cars, and they can't come out because only 10 of us can go, and they put it down to just a very immediate families. And our Asia Pacific people, there's no such thing as immediate family. If you got blood in them, you are family, and that's immediate to us. Our immediate family is not like immediate family to the rest of the world. So lots and lots of changes we had to go through still, and trying to teach our people about the rules of social distancing. Oh, they get mad at us, and we're looked at. Oh, here they come, go away, that kind of feeling to us. So when we go to really try and help them with these rules from the governor and from the health department, we are the bad guys. We're like telling them something to do that is really deadly to them. That they, so. But yeah, we have some educated Asia Pacific people. Lots of us are educated, but at the same time, lots of us educated and very culturally in tune. We all feel the same way with this madness of COVID-19 and trying to keep our families apart. So that's how those things have been.
Thank you, Auntie Lua. And I do.
There's Sinoun.
Hi, Sinoun.
Hi, I'm sorry, I made it. Thank you so much.
Yes, welcome. I was just going to say, it breaks my heart to hear of any of our community members, any of our Asian and Asian American Pacific Islander brothers and sisters being discriminated against or having rude comments made to them, being accused as the cause of the virus. That it breaks my heart, and those things obviously should not be happening and need to stop. And I appreciate you just sharing honestly with us, Auntie Lua.
Well, I have come across a couple incidents that's on my own personal attack. I was, can I share?
Yes, please.
I was at where was I? I was walking at the Pacific Beach, just kind of on the road. And then there were like about 5 or 6 girls walking at the other side. I was on my right, they're on the left. all of a sudden this girl just run and stand right in front of me and like give me a really dirty look. And I did not catch on like what happened because I was just walking my dog, and try to go as far as I can past the ocean shore, kind of go for a walk and get some breathing on either Saturday or Sunday.
Mm.
This girl was looking at me so dirty, and thank goodness my husband was paying attention from the back where he see this girl running from the left to the right side, like facing me. And I took a look at them. I couldn't understand what was happening because I wasn't really paying attention to what is happening yet. I wasn't really catching on, like they were coming after me. But I think my husband was aware of that. He got out from the car and then he walked behind them facing me. And, he realized that this girl might do something to me. And I think after they see my husband, that's when they kind of back off on me. So that was a really scary incident that I could have gotten beat up without not being aware of what just happened to me, And our mindset, I think we have to really be careful now. Mm-hmm. And then I walk into a store, this couple walk out and they did not have a cart or anything, but they smacked the shopping cart so hard right behind me. And I took a look at that. What happened? Did I do something wrong? I was just passing them. I always wear my face mask. Mm-hmm. And then going into the store, people would be like, give me dirty look and stuff. And it's like, oh my God. But, I tell myself that, just be patient with them because they don't know who I am. And I didn't do that. And if I have anger toward these people, it's going to get worse. So I try to calm myself down. As we're doing Zoom meeting and stuff, we have a lot of discussion on these things that's happening in the Asian community. And I personally get a 2 or 3 attack like that. It's so unheard of. I'm so now I feel a little bit scared. And Connor, when he doesn't want to go outside that much because he see a lot on his Twitter, on media, social media and stuff, and it's very scary. But I just tell myself to be patient and not be too angry about it. Their ignorance, and you've got to get a hold of yourself and be aware. My own husband gets scared too now. He have a knife in his car. He's worried. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have no guns, but we just, have some type of protection. And so just want to share with you guys on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it definitely, we should keep the conversation going, but part of this conversation is to continue talking about our topic from last week, which is mental health. Knowing any of our community members are being bullied, harassed, intimidated, having to, use protection. What do folks think that is doing to the mental health of our community?
Yeah, it's changing. My husband is a peaceful mind. Now it's changing him to be like, be careful. Like he would be watching out more than I am than ever, and it's very dangerous to the community, the way they're being attacked like this. And on the Facebook, or Cambodian young man who also get really rude comment to them and stuff. They would carry guns now, and they would show those guys like, hey guy, I have the gun, be careful. And then they would step back. So it is not normal. I don't think I look Chinese, do I?
No, but like Auntie Lua said, and I have a question later about, what can we do to what do we need to be saying to the community? What does the community need to know? But I think one important education piece is the Asian and Asian American and Pacific Islander communities are very different and diverse. And even if someone did think that you were Chinese, that is never an appropriate way to treat someone, period.
Yes, I agree, yeah.
So I would like to ask Vanna to also weigh in. It was very, very interesting to hear um, Sister Lua mentioned, here is the experience, especially of the Samoan community having such large extended families, that the impact of coronavirus, and Vanna as a my Laotian Thai person, what has it been like in your respective communities for just experiencing coronavirus, and like what did it feel um, like as the pandemic really escalated, and how people began to, I would imagine, change their viewpoint about this? I'd just like to hear your thoughts.
Yes, thank you. So before the pandemic, there was already currently an epidemic going on that affected Southeast Asians' mental health state, and the oppression that has been that we've been under. And again, like I said, this pandemic just exposed a lot of this institutional racism that's been happening to us. And a lot of the people are currently living in fear anyways, because of their current status, their situation with the criminal justice system. And so when you're already living in fear, you don't want to be on the radar. How do you ask for help? Who do you turn to that you can trust out here in the community? And so we've just already been in our minds already oppressed, like, don't go ask for help or they're gonna know you're out there. There has been a lot of situations where folks just take care of their own situation, and the pandemic is just like another obstacle course that we have to take on.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of people understand their current mindset state. And so situations just get worse for a lot of women and families. And so it affects us negatively when you're not trying to be out there like that. And as for the question about has there been an increase in racial profiling and discrimination, again, yes, there has been. And not a lot of people can tell the difference what kind of Asian you are. They think we all look the same. So we've been seeing a lot of white people who have the privilege to carry concealed weapons. They'll walk around like they're big and bad, and you see their weapon on them, and it just automatically intimidates us. For a lot of us, we're not able to carry weapons, so how are you gonna fight off someone with your fists when they got a gun? So you have to back down from a situation. If the white folks get buck or they want to treat you some type of way, you have to back down automatically, because you know you can't win against a gun. Two fists ain't gonna win against it. So in order to keep ourselves safe, we just avoid confrontation. And a couple of months ago, I opened my front door to a racial profiling incident against the police. There was a young Samoan man. I guess the white neighbors called the police on him, accused him of something, and they didn't have the right accurate information, but they assumed off of speculation. And so there was 20 police officers surrounding this young Samoan boy, but as I observed the situation, they only had their hands on their gun and they didn't pull it out. And so I knew that there was something wrong with the situation. And then 5 minutes later, all the police scatter. And I'm like, what? And so as the police are driving off in front of my house, I'm asking them what's going on. And they're saying, oh, a neighbor called in some wrong information. And I said, were the neighbors white? Because you guys really acted upon it. But if it was an Asian person or a Black person that called, they would not have acted on it as they did, the way they did. And so they just told me to go inside my house. And a lot of discrimination against Asian people in my neighborhood. I live on Hilltop, and it's just horrific how they mistreat people because of their skin color. But again, like I said, this pandemic has been exposing institutional racism. And my people, we don't speak up because we're living in fear anyways. Either we're already in the criminal justice system and we don't want to be out there like that. But trying to get the community to heal and understand that they do have a voice and they do speak up, it's hard when people don't want to be out there like that or the attention on them.
Wow, this conversation is really elevating something that I don't know has just really how much it's been out there. So we've been talking about the impacts of the coronavirus on the community, and the whole purpose for these conversations is to reach a section of the community that's not in the conversations that we might be in all day long on the Zoom calls, right? But what I am hearing is that for the API community, how coronavirus really elevated discrimination and prejudice just really has been in a way that has not been discussed openly because of the promotion that this is a Chinese virus from even at the top leadership of this country, and how people are taking that and turning it against others, our fellow humans. And that's the part, like when I hear all of you speak, that's what I'm hearing, really elevating that. And there has to be, it has to take a toll on you, your community, your family members mentally, because it's like, what's going to happen when I walk outside, when I go to the store, when I go here, or just when we enter, post-pandemic, what does it mean for how I engage with people? So let's talk a little bit about the mental health impacts to your respective communities as a result of coronavirus, because we know it's impacting, this is traumatic for everybody, period. And then it's just one more thing, right, for communities of color. How would you respond to that, Lua?
Well, mental health is something that we've been dealing with as an API community ever since we're here, because a lot of us are children and parents and uncles and aunties who've been in war zones in terms of our communities, especially in the Asian countries. So when they come here, they're already affected with the mental health, because first of all, they're in a different country and rules are different, ways of living are different, and so and their lives are different. So they go through a lot of that, and then a lot of them too, just by staying home because they can't really do much like they normally do in their countries. So especially the elderly. So they go through a lot of mental health stuff. That's why we have mental health programs in our organizations for API. that we try to get funding to help us with that, because we have a lot of elders and aunties and uncles who go through all those mental health issues, and some of them have PTSD from the wars, in Vietnam and Cambodia and Japan and China. So they are ages. There are a lot of our elders are ages from those time zones. So we do have, and then when we have to go through these moments like what we're doing now, it just adds up to it. It really adds up. And for those of our people who are brand new and dealing with this stuff, it's a lot. It's a lot for the mind to deal with, especially when you're already having those kinds of illnesses that you've been dealing with. Yeah, our people are going through a lot now, even more so than ever before. And so we have Asian Counseling Referral Services, Asian Counseling Services here. They deal a lot with our API mental health programs in terms of that. But because there's a lot of people who have those kinds of illnesses, and that we're dealing with in our homes. Vanna and Sinoun, you want to add something? Sinoun, why don't you talk about what the youth has been going through in terms of what's going on?
Yeah, with our virtual learning through the youth, we've been having a lot of discussion on racial issue, on discrimination, on how families, parents especially, because most of the kids, they don't really want to go outside at all, but their parents have different type of treatment. And we talk about really deep issue in terms of how they feel about their own ethnic group, in terms of what is happening to them in coming in contact with the racial discrimination like this. So the young people is scared, and that's including my own son. We talk about our young people cannot even relate to their own Asian identity because it's so deep and difficult what their parent, like Lua was sharing, what their parent has gone through. So when they gotten the discrimination by this new discrimination by, I don't want to say the white community, but the people that think we brought the virus to the United States, it's making them very angry to be pinpoint like this. And this is when this happened even before the school was over. The young student, they work at the restaurant, and then when we have API meeting, we have open discussion about how they got so many racial attack by people in the restaurant, and they were just crying in our classroom, some of them, when we share those things. And I worry a lot when I go home and we talk about how do we talk about more to really deal with it, with this problem. This is before the coronavirus being acknowledged, before the school closed down. The young children was facing with that. So they're really scared to go outside, and their parents have different issue. And some of them come up, get coronavirus by not knowing. They get it from their family, from the casino uncle bring it home, bring it to nieces and nephew and all this thing. And I help them through Facebook. I talk to them, and we have no remedy for all of that. We have stresses in our community, yeah, definitely, especially among the young people. They cry a lot about it, but we have a deep discussion on how they really have a hard time identifying themselves to be part of the Asian community. And then we talk about what, how can they're having a difficult time in terms of fitting in their own community. We have those discussions. And I think when kids are having difficulty, we then bring food in, bring clothes in, bring stuff to really help them identify. Yeah, so that is, they're going through a difficult time. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the Southeast Asian community's mental health, again, it's already unstable. And piggybacking off of what everyone said about their parents are refugees and the young people are currently having identity crisis or spiritual warfare because they're disconnected from their culture and their families. One of the things that I encourage the women that come to me is teach them about how to stand their ground, especially when they get in a situation where it's dangerous, against protecting themselves against white privilege or any kind of confrontation. We want to prevent them from going to jail or entering in the criminal justice system. So we just discuss ways that they can use their privileges to protect them. Sometimes I run into people who don't see that protecting themselves using personal protective equipment as a good thing. We have to teach them how to love themselves enough because they're busy caring about everybody else, but they don't care about themselves enough. And we want to I talk a lot about self-care and self-love, and I share about what I'm doing. And so that encourages them to seeing value in themselves because they're disconnected from the community or their families. And again, our goal is to help women to stay grounded in their current situation and not check out, because once you check out, it's harder to get them back to reality.
Thank you. So I just want to stop for a second and do a check-in with everyone and remind our participants, our listeners, feel free to post your questions in the Q&A box, and we will elevate those. And we do have a question that I'd like to pose to all of you, and then come back and just kind of talk about a little bit more about mental health. What issues do you feel are unique to the Asian Pacific community aside from, air quotes, Chinese virus fear mongering?
Sorry, Pam. I was, so what was your question again, Pam?
Sure. So the question that someone has raised is a good question. What issues do you feel are unique to the API community aside from people saying the virus is a Chinese virus and promoting that type of fear? What other issues do you see are unique to the API community from the pandemic?
So the pandemic, there's a lot we're dealing with. There's a lot of education that we still need to do, because a lot of our people still don't believe that even though you're family, you still have to distance yourself. So a lot of them, for some reason, don't want to listen. That's number one. Number two is hard to get to them to listen. And certain people have to be the ones to really, like, I wish sometimes I could cut myself into many different pieces and then throw it here, throw it there, because a lot of times our API community, it takes a certain group of leaders or leader to really say something and kind of really face to face with them and really make them understand what they really need to do. So there are some groups of us people, especially Pacific Islanders, we're trying to really teach, because more and more Pacific Islanders are the ones with all the different kinds of big groups of families here. More than Asians, there are a lot of them, but there are a lot of them they don't have big families like Pacific Islanders I have seen. So maybe in their countries, but not here in America. So, but here in America, Pacific Islanders, they come in bundles. So that's why it's really hard for us to, even for myself. My husband is a retired person from the health department. So the poor guy has been trying to tell our family, me and my kids, to really distance ourselves, but it's really hard. It's not easy. It's really, and your heart just breaks when people tell you, oh, you can't see so-and-so, oh, you can't have them to come over, oh, you just make a phone call or whatever. But and then especially when your grandchildren cry out, you want to see you or you want to see them. So it's really hard. Education, community education is really what we're trying to face with right now. In fact, the meeting I'm supposed to leave for right now is a national level of Pacific Islander trying to deal with COVID. So, yeah, but that is and that's why Pacific Islander has the most cases as per capita here in the state of Washington, and it's coming to be on a nationwide situation because of our families. We have large families, and we can't separate ourselves from each other. And we believe that we're not sick. So, but we will be and we have been, because we haven't been listening. So with that, I want to leave. But thank you so much for having us on the line today. But Sinoun and Vanna, please take on and finish the conversation for the rest of us while I go to another meeting.
Thank you, Auntie Lua.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Lua.
Thank you, Lua. Thank you so much. So Lua has to go to continue the good work she's doing with another conversation. We're going to continue. We want to ensure that we provide the space and the time that's needed to really go through our conversation. We generally go to about 6:15, so we'll go to that time, and we'll just keep this going. So that was really interesting. That was really good. What I call her my Sister Lua said that for her community, it's so, because there's such large families, and it's hard to keep everybody apart, and then people don't believe that they're sick, or just wow, there was just so much there that I was absorbing. So Vanna, I see you are unmuted. I'm gonna ask you to go next. How would you respond to the question?
The struggle is real, and I don't think that there is, for me personally, anything unique that we're going through. We struggle the same. We go through the same situations. The only thing that's different is the food we eat. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. And Sinoun?
Yes, Pam, I went through a different trauma as a child. I was put in prison camp as a young child at the age of 10 till I was 14. Went through a communist regime, come out of there thinking in my head, I thought I was a robot. I do what the communists said and try to survive. When they released us from the prison camp, only a few of us survived. I saw so many deaths. I feel like I went through the testament day, or the returning from the dead or whatever, when you see after the killing field. Only a few of us survived. My sister died from starvation. My dad was put away to be murdered. Many of us separated. My family side, my mom's side, half of them got murdered by the communists. After the Vietnam War, we all was put into black clothes prison camp. We all separated from each other. So I went through that, and Lua and I share. We talk about how the trauma really hurt so many of us. And young, I'm in my 50. You know, I've had to go through a lot of re-education, a lot of mental health, and end up getting a master's degree in education, guidance counseling, went through, tried to become a mental health therapist myself, and just a lot of trauma that I went through. But when I come across with this type of discrimination, I do not know how to make of it. I think maybe because I went through too much of it, I don't let myself feel that pain from people that's attacking me like that because of the pain that I went through as a child through the prison camp. And I learned the method, the way on how to forgive people, as I have forgiven those who put me in the prison camp. So I have been gentle about it. I have been not able to cry about it, but be more aware of my life in danger, or you know what's going on right now. So my trauma is different, and my parents' trauma is even deeper because her children was taken away from her to put in the prison camp. And I think when you're put in danger, and I'm in a child survival mode. You know, one time when there were like a person who was stolen from their home, they were pretty close, but they're not able to come back home, or say they're scared of the threat of the violence. That happened to me. So those kind of threat and violence, I kind of have a shelter, try to really understand it and not getting too overwhelming. But with the young people, they don't understand that. Mm-hmm. And that's causing them with a lot of mental health, a lot of upsetness. My son went to Safeway. He came back having an anxiety flash. He said, I never go out anymore. He cries. He's just getting so nervous and all this thing that's going on. So he's been trying to watch video, trying to calm himself down. He's doing better. I'm putting him in counseling to try and deal with that. And I'm talking to all my young people with our youth program students. We're having a lot of dialogue to deal with those crises. So it's real, but I think individual that knowing how to deal with it and knowing how to help others really is gonna make a difference in the kid's life, in the individual's life. Yeah. Is that, am I sharing too much?
No, that's fine.
No, that was really a very heartfelt and I'm trying to think, very vulnerable response that you provided that I think we were just all really listening to about, there were so many layers of what you have gone through and how it makes you show up now. And I was thinking, I was listening to you and I was thinking about, there was a question that is posed about given the pandemic and how it has been, and I'm the person who posted it, I want you to know I'm trying to translate it because there were several questions in the comment. Given that this pandemic has just really resulted in a lot of name calling, and I would also say finger pointing. If you could identify a specific thing to change people's mindsets about this and have a positive outcome, what would you do?
That is so difficult, Pam. There's quite a few ignorant people, and I try to work with my son that they haven't walked a day in your shoes. So it's very difficult for them to know who you are as an individual until you come to get to know them, or the individual that discriminate against me have to at least know who I am before you kill me. They don't have that sense of understanding. So it made my son cry a lot about that, because Mom, you should never tolerate any discrimination against you. All this thing, I said, you have to deal with it at this time, and you cannot be so upset about it. You're just gonna give over the power, give power to other people. So I think the individual, oh, I'm sorry. I think the individual, I think it's definitely, you cannot change their mind. But I think if we could tell the story in the media and let them know that, you know, before you judge me, before you kill me, you got to know, I'm sorry, who I am first. Don't execute me before you give me a chance to explain. And that's been the racial discrimination. They just went off what they know and what's their mentality is, and then they just go on that. They're not educating themselves to really be understanding how to walk in one's footstep. Oh my God.
So I'm going to let you mute that. And then here's another question that was posted, and this is really good as well. It really gets to some very tangible things. What are some community resources or organizations or groups that you could share with API folks to engage in healing, education, awareness, and mental health services? So talk about the resources that are available in the community.
Okay, so right now, I think because of we do have the resources, but the resources mainly closed. You know, like when we talk about ACRS, when we talk about mental health places, it's not a lot of places that are able to help us right now. I think we are just trying to form a committee. We're just trying to form a commission. We're just trying to coming together to really deal with there are health departments trying to work with anti-discrimination committee, and we have the API coalition coming on to meeting to talk to our legislator about what's happening with the Asian community. We have other community is coming into having dialogue. We are not ready right now at this time. So I just had my first conversation with the health department. I said, I think that you guys need to hurry up to have maybe a small business card that said if you're being harassed or if you're being having a racial discrimination, call this number to at least talk to somebody. You know, when we have ICE coming to attack us, we have those kind of resource. With the immigration, we call the immigration attorney, whatever. We don't have that resource right now. So many of us really helping each other, talking through, one-on-one. If they have coronavirus, we get messenger calling, we're talking. Like I was trying to help a family who had coronavirus that her husband brought it from the casino, from that he didn't know he got it. He gave it to his wife, his kid, his nephew, everybody else. And then they all got that attack and like, where's the medicine? And I talked to them. They were being shoved at home. There were no help. They stay at home and nobody wanted to deal with them. Nobody really have anything to help them. So we had to start with a remedy, a cultural remedy where we use for malaria, and we take that and we just help each other out to use some old remedy, the Cambodian herbal remedy, to drink that, to help us boost our immune system, to really fight against that and try to stay alive. On Facebook, practically, thank goodness to Facebook, where we can communicate with one another, to tell each other how we're doing, and I can reach out to people that, you know, I know them a little bit, but not a lot, but I can still, hey, this is how you get help, and talk and finding out where do they get resources, who gonna help you, all this thing. There's nothing like that that's helping them in the community.
So thank you for that. I like to hear your response, Vanna, and what would you consider to be the main things that you want the community at large to hear, like, we need these things right away?
Exactly. Thank you. First of all, we need to ground ourselves, is what I'm telling the people. We need to ground ourselves in reality right now, first and foremost. And I encourage folks to follow Tacoma Healing Awareness Community's Facebook page. We are working on some healing groups for women mainly. And as soon as we can, we're going to work on opportunities for the community to find health plans that fits their needs and know your rights. We know that we can't rely on the police for help or these big organizations for help. We have to work with each other and come together to find solutions. And it all starts with talking about it, talking about what we need, and to find someone that you can vibe with, and just starting a dialogue, focusing on your energy and rejuvenating your soul is the main thing that we need to work on. We don't have the capacity or the money or the staff to do all these things, so we do things from a grassroots level. And I encourage everyone to start tuning into their soul, finding out what they need, and learning what capacity they have before they jump to do anything. And again, I'm on a healing journey, and I'm focused on healing myself before I do anything else at a larger scale. Thank you.
So how can the organizations that are co-hosting these conversations step in to be of assistance or to support, to advocate on your behalf? And I'm speaking specifically of Tacoma Urban League and Metropolitan Development Council, because this is really enlightening to me when we ask what are the resources, and I'm hearing that there really aren't any. How can we help? How can the community help? How can we step in and be a support?
Thank you. There's definitely always room for partnership, and all it takes is a meeting, a conversation between two people who have the same mission, who are like-minded, and starts with a conversation.
Twyna, do you have any anything that you'd like to add to what you've heard so far?
Yeah, I definitely have really good information to continue to share with the community. I already am familiar with the overrepresentation of the API community and the COVID-19 positive testing data. I'm familiar enough with the community and in relation at least with Auntie Lua in the Asia Pacific Cultural Center to know the reasons why culturally. That is not a community that's doing anything wrong, but culturally being together is how you survive, is how you would get through a pandemic. But, you know, what we're seeing is the results and outcome of, you know, that does not work because it spreads the disease. But naturally, when there is pain and suffering in the community, like the Black community, we want to be together. So no new findings, but I think my heart continues to ache knowing that any of our brothers and sisters are being mistreated for any reason. And so I am advising our community to stop with the harassment, stop with the discrimination, stop with the racism, to recognize, as Vanna said, we are similar beings, right? We have far more in common than not. And we have to shift culturally as a country to recognize the benefit of loving each other and being together. And I agree that partnership is going to be one of our greatest assets. I know, however, Tacoma Urban League can continue to support. Auntie Lua mentioned, you know, we try to help with gift cards and try to help with resources and, you know, have been willing to let APCC use our van. And there are times over the years that they have done the same thing for us. So we are a community, and we will continue to educate not just on Black issues and the fact that Black lives matter, but also that our Asian American and Pacific Islander community members are our brothers and sisters, and we stand for them as well. So we stand together as a community united through coronavirus, but even beyond coronavirus, we will stand together.
Mm-hmm. And I would add that I did not hear that this is the sole issue that came up, but there was a discussion about the trauma and the mental health impacts to the trauma that you have uniquely endured, and that there are organizations that are out there that can provide those mental health services. And MDC definitely is one. MDC has outpatient counseling services, and there is also comprehensive mental health that provides those services. And there are many others. And that also something that came up that we want to make certain that we keep at the forefront is, so there is a recognition of the racism and the discrimination that the API community has encountered and endured as a result of coronavirus. And just to be thinking about how can we collectively and how can the API community specifically do more educating to dispel the misconceptions. And I'm saying that not to, so often people say, well, you got to fix the problem, when it's the community at large that's having the problem, but to say, how can we be working together to dispel the issues and the miscommunications and misinformation that's out there, particularly about coronavirus, because it's not a Chinese virus. It is a virus. We stand also here to in support of you all. I just want to, as we wrap up, to say thank you to both of you, as well as Sister Lua, for participating, for sharing what you've shared about your experiences. I don't think this is the last time we will have you on this conversation to talk about what's going on in your respective communities. And we thank you for being here. Do either of you have any any parting comments before we go?
Yes, I do. Part of the Southeast Asian culture, we struggle to find good mental health therapists that understands our struggles. And there's not a lot of us out there as mental health therapists. And if there is, sometimes they don't understand us on that level because of the generation difference. And I was blessed to find a therapist who was from Texas who understood the struggles that I was going through. And so she helped me stay sane in this current crisis. And not everyone is as blessed and fortunate as I am. So I just wanted to say that much. But there are good therapists out there, but you have to go through them all to find out which one works for you. And thank you for having me on here. And we know that the Black folks led this struggle, and we stand behind and alongside you guys too. And we too are trying to heal through this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, Tawana. I'm glad to be invited, and looking forward to more conversation on these issues and how we could help each other to bring comfort to the community. I think a workshop and education or a resource that we could put in the bathroom or somewhere that people can just put it in their purse or pick it up and just, hey, I got harassed, or like I need to talk to somebody, I can call. Something of that type of resource is helpful at this time, because you can't really see a person to person anymore. So a resource that they could have, a hotline or something, we could give that to the community, to, you know, someone to talk to is good. And yeah, I think that is needed very much so, since the coronavirus really stopping many of the people doing a one-on-one thing. So I hope Tawana and everybody, you know, be thinking about those things, about having a special resource for our community. And thank you for listening to us.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing what you have shared, for being part of this conversation this evening. We greatly appreciate you. We say thank you. And to our audience, thank you all as well so much for participating, weighing in with your questions and your comments. We appreciate you all. Don't forget to join us here every Monday beginning at 5 o'clock for our Straight Talk community conversations about coronavirus. Thanks, and have a good evening, everybody.